Good morning, Patrick here, live from Complete Health, and I want to go through one of my favorite topics as a chiropractor, and this is really the concept of adaptation or to adapt. Now, when we think of the word adapt, it's essentially how can we change to fit in with what's going on. So the best way I can describe it is our body is very good at adapting or fitting in to the environment. So whatever our environment is, our body will learn to adapt to that. And so when we have patients coming in to see us in practice, the likelihood is there's been some sort of adaptation process that's taken place. And that adaptation is normally not what that person wants or what that person requires to be able to cope with their life. So there are different types of adaptation. There are both positive and negative adaptations. We can make an adaptation, say for example, if we expose ourselves to carcinogens on a regular basis, the adaptation that the body would make is to produce cells that don't function properly, and those cells typically turn into tumors. That would be considered a negative adaptation. Now that's really on the extreme end of the scale. And we have got loads of other negative type of adaptations as well. So if we look at, say, for example, sitting at a desk all day, what will actually change? What will actually happen? What will happen to our brain and our nerve system in order to actually cope with this type of stress? Because this is the main thing that we have to understand when we're adapting is what is it that adapts? And a lot of us would think, obviously, sitting for a long period of time, yes, our muscles will start to become tight, our joints will start to become stiff. But the reason why that starts to happen is that our body actually starts to receive signals from the brain, and the brain will then start to send signals to the muscles in order to actually change. So a lot of us would have heard of muscle memory. If you go to the gym and you stop for a period of time and you go back, people tend to gain muscle mass much quicker the second time. Now, the reason why that occurs is because the brain has already got the signals or the pathways through the nerve system in order to actually then contribute to getting those muscles re-recruited. And so it's much easier the second time than what it is the first. However, if you're sitting at a desk all day, all your brain is doing is sending signals to the muscles that help you sit. So what do your brain remember? It remembers how to sit. Now, when you try to come away from a sitting position, your brain then doesn't know how to recognize how to move away from that. And so we've got that negative pattern where certain muscles have started to receive signal from the brain telling us this is the easiest option for us. Because like I say, our brain or our adaptation process, our body will adapt to the environment. And what it will try to do is make things as efficient as possible. Now, that may be very efficient for those 8 hours that you sit at a desk all day, but then all of a sudden you want to go and work out and your body hasn't got the range of motion because your brain can't recognize the movement. So when you go to do an exercise, that's when we become stiff and sore, and then it becomes more likely that we're going to actually injure ourselves when we come away from the desk and try and do exercise. So this is the other thing. We can also create very positive adaptations. So say, for example, going out and moving on a day-to-day basis will start to teach the muscles or different muscles how we can actually move, how we can actually strengthen things up. And we can actually start to learn how to improve our muscle tone, our ranges of motion, our posture, our heart, our lungs. They can all start to adapt in a very positive way if we put the right types of stress. But this is the thing, is our body will always adapt to stress. And if it's a negative stress, guess what's going to happen to the adaptation of the body? It's going to adapt in a negative way. And if that's a positive stress on the body, it's going to adapt in a positive way. So we can look, and when you look at something that you're doing in your life and you're going, okay, why is my body doing this? What is actually going on? What is the process here? And that's really my job as a chiropractor, is really to identify what is their problem? Why is it really a problem? How is it affecting your life? And what do we actually need to do and adapt in that person in order to actually regain the function so that they can go back and do those things? A lot of people will come and approach me and say, I can't sit at work because now it's got painful. Well, if those movements and those joints are not moving in a functional way, it's going to become painful. And we never do anything about that. Guess what? We're just always going to stay in that negative adaptation cycle. And the longer we stay in that cycle, the much more difficult it is to come out. What we know is the brain takes roughly 100 attempts at an activity to become very good at it. But it takes about 3,000 attempts to unlearn a bad pattern and retrain it into a good one. So make sure you get the adaptation right the first time, because it's not as easy the second time. Now, for me, this is why some people take a lot longer to recover in care, because they've adapted so negatively for so long. It's then very, very difficult, and you've got a lot of layers of compensations that you have to obviously change with that. Now, there are hundreds of different things that you can do for this, stuff like mobilization and stretching, exercises at home, improve your diet and your nutrition. They'll all contribute to a positive adaptation of our body. There are also things that will prevent the adaptation process from taking place, such as smoking, being sedentary, not getting enough sleep, not being hydrated enough. These will all contribute to a negative adaptation, and as a result, actually hold people back. So if you want to learn a little bit more about positive and negative adaptations, jump onto some of my other videos. I put loads of content on about like recipes, stuff like exercise routines. We've got tons of different exercises on our YouTube channel, which is Complete Health Eastbourne. We've also got comments and interviews with other chiropractors. Again, these are all on our Spotify channel, which is Coffee with the Chiropractor. So there's tons of information about the adaptation process. And if you actually listen to the way that the chiropractors actually talk in those interviews, you'll listen and you'll hear some of the processes that they're going through with their patients, and some of the changes that you can actually see with long-term adaptations or a long-term positive environment on your body. Pleasure to always speak about the positive adaptations that we can get with chiropractic. But if you want to learn a little bit more, like I say, just jump on, leave us a comment below. You can always send us a message. I'm always happy to answer questions where I can. I'm always happy to answer questions where I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll be very honest. All right. But if you want to know any more, please get in touch, because I'm always happy to actually help and serve and let people understand how these processes take place. Until tomorrow, guys. See you soon.